The year was 2023. Jennifer and Jonathan Giles along with their son, Tucker Fish set course for the great state of Alaska. Having procured housing in Houston, a suburb of Wasilla, Alaska, they started their journey to that great state. Ready to fight off polar bears, wolves, mice and moose, they set up their home. We have photos, videos, and a year-long montage of the weather. The fierce, deadly weather where walking out your front door could be the last thing you do. The bears, whose cunning ways, hide in wait for the unsuspecting morsel to exit their habitat and become that next meal. The wintry blizzard that surrounds the residents creates a confusion in humans that entices and delights the carnivorous moose that stalk their prey, waiting for the right moment to spring and attack. Who are these brave souls, and what could make any sane human decide to move to such an untamed, wild, and deadly land? Join me as I show you the lives of these brave warriors who traveled into the unknown, willingly, to face certain peril and hardship. Where daily their lives were put in jeopardy as the wild terrain tried them physically, mentally, and emotionally. Buckle your seat belts, and get ready for year one, Alaska style.
Okay, you are being a bit dramatic. I'll take over from here. What you are about to see is a collection of pictures taken by John during their first year in Alaska. You'll also be given a running narrative by John and his family about being in their new home, the events that happened, new experiences, and, yes, there are moose and wolves and such, but nothing like the previous host talked about. So let's start, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below.
Welcome to my year one in Alaska video. In this video I'm going to just discuss the reasons why we moved, the things that happened as we moved, what it's been like living here for the past year, the good things, the bad things, the amazing things. I'm gonna do it all. The question's always asked, why did you move to Alaska? Now, you hear lots of tales of Alaska being so expensive, blah, blah, blah. Prices are a little bit higher here on fast food, definitely. Groceries, just a little bit, not much. They're about the same prices as in Utah. But we were able to get into a house here. And that was a big thing because we figured get rid of that big payment of rent, because rent is always much higher than the house is worth, that kind of thing, because you have to pay their mortgage. And so we looked and we looked. We were thinking of other places. We were thinking of Montana. So Montana was our original goal. And in the past few years, the prices there literally have tripled and just priced us out of anything. You know, there are places in eastern Montana, but we wanted, northwestern part of Montana. And as we were looking, we're getting frustrated. Now, as a joke, we thought, oh, let's look at Alaska. So we looked at Alaska, and we found not only is it affordable housing, the climate is the same as in the Kalispell area. And so it really is like we got to move to the place we wanted to move. Now, to get out here, Jen drove the Alcan with the U-Haul. A family friend of ours drove up with her, and I stayed with my brother while that all happened. So because of my medical problems, I really couldn't do much as far as helping with the move, so Jen said, go to your brother's, and then we'll fly you out when we're there. And I said, okay. And so I agreed to fly. I am terrified of flying. I did not want to fly, but I did it. And I don't want to ever do it again. So yeah, so she came out here and got everything started, and then we came out and met her.
So we were trying to figure out how in the heck we were going to move people and vehicles everywhere we needed to be. And I was going to be driving the U-Haul, and my mom was willing to ride shotgun with me. But in the process of her being there with my dad, helping me finalize packing on like food and kitchen items and just buttoning up things in the house for us, she was suffering so much. My mom has a bad knee, but like myself, we suffer from primary lymphedema. And as you can see, we swell. I have swollen hands. You can see my legs and feet right now. I don't have cankles, I have vicals. And I hold fluid in my face. My earrings are tight right now that I have in because I'm so swollen. And this was just because I ran errands today with John. We had to run by a doctor's office and the grocery store for a few things. And so I'm blowing up like the Michelin Man. My mom also has primary lymphedema, which is, 20 years more that she's suffered with this than I have. And so looking at her legs and feet, I knew there was no way I could cram her into a U-Haul truck for a 3,000-mile drive. It is from where we used to live in Ogden to our front door is 2,998 miles. So yeah, 3,000 miles. And Mom was just not going to be able to do it. And Tucker couldn't ride shotgun with me because he didn't have his passport yet. It hadn't arrived. And so Kyler, if we haven't mentioned him before, Kyler Collimore, coolest young man ever. He and Tucker met when they were serving their missions, and we've just fallen in love with him. He's another one of the kids that have just joined the crowd, and he was helping us 2 days in a row get that U-Haul loaded and touch up paint, and such a sweet kid. Anyway, he goes, well, if I take some time off work, if I take off, tomorrow or whatever it was, he goes, and we drive straight through, just switching off drivers. One sleeps, one drives. And I fly home Sunday for work on Monday. We can make this work. And I said, well, we can't do that. No, I can't do that to you. And he's like, too late. Already done. Bought the ticket. Let's go. And I was like, holy cow. And so Kyler came the next morning, and he drove with me. And let me tell you, there are some stories there. But Kyler and I drove, and then the guys flew out later with Kyler because he flew home and came back out again. And then my mom was able to fly up and be here with the organizing of the kitchen and just boxes, so many boxes to unpack. And so my mom and my dad and Kyler and my cousin Andina and her husband Andrew and so many others were just so awesome in helping us get moved. And I love them, and I can't thank them enough for their help. And that is the kind of love that we received here from our friends and neighbors and people from church that just were so happy to have us. And do you need anything? And how can we help? And it has been an incredible experience moving up here.
Jen picked us up at the airport. We drove out, and as I'm driving out, it's, I think it was around 1:30, 2 in the morning, and the sky was still a little bit light. That was kind of cool. I wasn't ready for that, and I'll get to that later on the longest day of the year thing, because that was one of my goals in life to see, and I did. And I did a video on it, so if you want to look at my previous videos, you can go there and see it. But as we're driving to the house, I am just in awe of this area, the beauty of this area. It looks like Oregon. I was originally born in Oregon and spent a few years there. And then my aunt and uncle, my grandmother, and my cousins, they lived there. And so we came up to visit quite often. And Oregon is just a beautiful place. If you drive through the forests and drive by the lakes, and it is a beautiful place. And as we're driving to the house, just looking in awe of how beautiful it is here. and the trees are amazing. There is water everywhere. Like I said, there is a lake in the middle of town. I love that, and it was cool. It was a good first introduction to Alaska. Was seeing this beautiful landscape and driving up to our home. It was pretty cool.
So when we were first pulling up to the house, we knew we had the puddle in the front yard, and we'd seen the pictures, the listing photos of, it being the raised ranch and stuff. Once we actually got to it, it was weird seeing it, we're standing in front of it and seeing just how tall it was. And so it was interesting seeing that, because there's so many different types of houses just in our neighborhood. We have cabins, we have barn dominiums, we have raised ranches, the crazy A-frames. So it was nice seeing that ours is also as unique as the others. Then we got inside. The basement's kind of the entire basement was painted this horrible banana chip yellow was the name, and it was awful, and so that had to go as soon as possible. But it was cool seeing, what made our house different from all the others, because it's not just, it's not a cookie cutter neighborhood, so they're not all the same thing, but you also have a mix of all the different builders, the different cultures, the way it all gets smushed together to make all these different things, and it's been really cool to see that, especially ours, because, we live here.
Now, the house we got, it's a nice house. It definitely needs a lot of work. The people that owned it previously used it for some pretty bad things, like a pot farm, and just a lot of bad things. And so we've had to do a lot of cleanup, and the house needs a lot of work. Still needs a lot of work, but it's a great house, and we're happy here, and we love it. It sits on an acre, and we're on a well. And so, if you're used to paying a water bill, especially, in Utah right now, you'll understand what I'm saying. The well is so nice to have. Very nice to have. And again, just the beauty of this area, it is amazing. During the winter months, it's very white. You have to remember when it turns winter, the snow hits and it doesn't leave. So we only get, I think it's 10 or 11 more inches than the place in Utah where we're from. So we don't get a whole lot more snow. It's that when the snow hits, it stays. And so once you see that first snow hit, that snow will be there until the spring. And that's what they call breakup. So it's not a thawing or a melting or anything like that. They call it breakup, because when the snow stops, or when the snow comes and lands, it does not go away. And so like last year, we had ice all the way up the driveway. We had just a lot of snow and ice, and it's really not that bad. I did spend some time in my younger years growing up in Wyoming, and the winters there are bad. The winters here are not bad. So this area that we're in, it's pretty amazing. I think we got really lucky with the area that we moved to.
So with the climate here, while our high temperatures may only reach into the low 80s, it is that temperature with direct sunlight for so many more hours than when you're further down in latitude. So that 85 degrees that we can reach sometimes feels like 105. And as someone who was born in the Phoenix area and has lived in the deserts of Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and the heat and humidity of Texas, it's hot. And people think we're crazy for saying that, but it gets hot in the summer. And it's cool in early fall. At night, it gets cool and chilly, but during the day, it's beautiful out. You can still wear short sleeves and sandals, and life is grand.
One of the coolest things is the long days in the summertime. The wintertime does get dark, and it doesn't get light until roughly 10 a.m., dark around 4 p.m., and that's at the peak of darkness. But in the summer, it stays light, and I've always wanted to experience the all day nights that Alaska was known for. And I love it because, well, if you go look at my video that I made of that, it was just incredible to me. It was something that I always wanted to see, and I always thought I would just take a cruise to see it and that I'd be done with it. I never thought I'd actually live here. But I am glad because I've been able to see the daylight hours extend. When it stays light until 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then it keeps staying light. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's still light. And then while we don't get the sun out 24 hours, as you'll see on my video, the light doesn't go completely dark. Because in the dead of winter, it gets really dark here, especially because we live out of town, so there's not a lot of lights around, so it gets really dark. But on the June 21st, the equinox, that is light. There is some form of light 24 hours a day for a couple weeks there, and it's really fun. It was an experience, and I've always wanted to experience it, and I love it. I'm so glad that I got to.
So the extended daylight and extended nighttime. When we were first considering moving up here, that was one of the big concerns because just the three of us, my mom, John, and I, we have depression that runs in the family, and so we were concerned that, the darkness would be overwhelming and like people already get, I can't remember the term for it, but when you get stuck indoors, like the cabin fever type feeling, and so we were worried about that a little bit, but we got here, and even though, especially without a vehicle, we were inside, we weren't stuck because we had people who were helping us who would, we got to go into town with them and do shopping, so we weren't stuck inside for the whole 5.5 months that we had snow on the ground. So we did get to go out and, see more of our area, so we got to see Wasilla, Big Lake, Houston, occasionally like Palmer and stuff. But yeah, it was definitely weird getting dark. What was it, like 4 or 5? Like you'd be getting, what you'd consider not evening, but twilight, like really almost absurdly dark. And, like you check your phone and it says the time, and you're like, that can't be right. But you have to keep reminding yourself. It was definitely a lot more fun seeing the light come back. So it does mean you have more time working outside. And so for the various projects we've been doing, you do have more time. It's also where you get the Alaska heat. It's weird to say, but it does get hot in Alaska, not because Phoenix or something where you reach such high temperatures, but because it's those medium 70, 80 degrees for a longer time. So you're not getting burned, you're getting baked, like in an oven. And so that's been interesting and unexpected. I was just expecting sunlight. I didn't ever consider that, it's going to actually be hot. 11, midnight, you were going out and you still had the normal daylight you'd have at 5 or 6. And so it was kind of surreal because it was like, I feel tired, but it's still daytime. Like, do I need to take a nap or am I going to bed? But it was fun.
One of the hard things that happened was we arrived here and we did not have a vehicle. The vehicle that we had problems back in Utah, and it took a long time to get it fixed. We had family and friends that were helping out with that, and thank you to all of them. It did take a full year to get our vehicle, and that made it very difficult. It added a lot of difficulty to our situation, and it was trying. but we have our vehicle now, so it is, as far as everything else goes, it's kind of like we're just starting, like we just got here, because now we have a vehicle. Luckily, there are some people that offered to help us quite a bit. Some friends of ours from our ward, also our neighbors. We have neighbors across the street, right back of us, or to the side of us, and they're amazing. We have a neighbor down the street that her and Jen get along really well. They've done a few things together, and I'll try to get the picture of their dress-up bingo night that they went to. It was very funny. She might not let me post it, but we'll see. But people around here are amazing. Our neighbors are amazing. The first thing that happened when we got here is that our next door neighbor grabbed a, what do they call those lawnmower things you pull on the back of a four-wheeler, got one of those, mowed our yards. I mean, without even being asked, he just went and did it. And he actually did it again this summer as well. And we couldn't ask for better neighbors. I mean, there are some good people here, just some really good people.
The area we've moved to has the nicest, most incredible neighbors. The people who live around us down the street have just been so kind and welcoming, glad to have us here, happy to help, visited a neighborhood barbecue that happens. They are just so sweet. When we didn't have our vehicle, the gal down the street would take me with her on the school run to drop the kids off, and then we'd go to the grocery store and do my pickup order from Fred Meyer Kroger, for those in the lower 48. And there has just been such kindness, and families from church that have just been so welcoming and loving. And a special shout out to our friends Brian and Denise, who really took time out of their busy schedules to show just the sweetest, most loving spirit and help us out when we didn't have our vehicle. Which, as you're watching this video, you know that when we moved up here, I drove the U-Haul, the guys flew, and we were supposed to be shipping up my truck, and that did not work out. So I lost the job that I had arranged because I didn't have transportation down into Anchorage for training. And we have had to rely on the loving care of people around us.
So yeah, we really do love it here. You know, it has been quite the experience. There are a lot of really nice people here. You know, there's good and bad everywhere you go, obviously. But we've run into a lot of good people, and that has been a total blessing for us. Our neighbors are amazing. We've made a few friends that are just amazing, and it makes it to where this really does feel like home. We do love it here. We do live a little bit out of town, and that's okay. But it's basically the distance of, like, to go to here to Walmart or Fred Meyer or whatever, wherever you want to go. It is about like going to Brigham City from Ogden. So you get a nice little ride up a road, and then you get to Brigham City. So it's not that far. And you know, that's the funny thing, is a lot of people here will talk about going into town, like how my grandmother would talk about it, going into town when she lived, you know, 35, 40 miles out, even, you know, three times the distance from here to there, but she'd still do it almost every day. And it's funny, it makes me laugh, because people here, some of them, think that they live, you know, out in the bush, and they don't. You know, this is so close to Walmart, Fred Meyer. There's, if you want to go 50 miles, you can go to Costco. There are plenty of restaurants around here, plenty of stores. There's a GameStop. There's, you know, a Panda Express. There's everything you could want. There's Carl's Jr., McDonald's, Home Depot, Lowe's. you have everything here. So this is not out in the bush. It's just like going, like I said, it's like you live from far west in Ogden, the Ogden area where my mom used to live, to Brigham City. It's not that far. And so going to town is not that big of a deal, and it's nice. And the town is really a nice town. I love how there is just a main road, and everything's off the main road. And that really helps because, you see exactly where you need to go and go there. As far as prices, you hear a lot of people talk about the Alaska tax, and that is true, especially if you're eating out. If you eat out a lot, you're going to pay a ton more. We're talking, and I don't know what the prices are like right now in Utah, but they're not too far over that, but they are over that. So about, think whatever you're getting at about 25% of what you're paying is what you're going to pay here. So if you were paying $10 for a value meal there, you're going to pay $12.50 to $13 here. And so it is a little more expensive to eat out. Groceries are, I thought they were a little bit more, but if you are just a smart buyer and look for deals and stuff, the prices are practically the same as they were in Utah. It's funny, before I got here, I was at my brother's, and Jen had told me, oh yeah, you get a 12-pack here, it's $9. And I was like, oh really, that's crazy. And see, I'm a bargain shopper, so I never buy anything unless it's on sale. And so for drinks, I always had about 3 stores that had rotating sales, and I never paid a full price for drinks. For my Dr. Pepper Zero that I love, I would always buy them on sale. And when I got to my brother's, he was like, yeah, that's how much I pay. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So I guess it's not that different, the prices aren't that bad. But, you just have to be, a crafty consumer. You have to look for deals, look for coupons. Yeah, you have to be wise. You just got to be wise in the way you buy stuff.
So, I guess what I'm saying is it met expectations in that I knew it'd be, how to say it, it would be different because we're not out in the bush, we'd have to take snowmobiles or a helicopter to get back and forth from town to our house, but we do have a different rhythm, we're not just, we can't walk to our church building, let's put it that way. It's 20 minutes away up north, and so different traffic and things like that. So, those things we take for granted, especially in Utah, where we have church buildings on every corner, like a Circle K, like my grandpa says. And so there was figuring out what Alaska's way of being is, and it's been really fun to do that. Especially because, when was it? I want to say fall, winter, November, December, we got our Great Dane puppy, Kronos, and he has been such a joy to have, and he's been a part of helping me get accustomed to the rhythm, because for a while, I felt good about, coming up here and moving and being away, a long ways away from everything that I'd known, but he's been a great help, because dogs are just great like that, especially Great Danes, gentle giants, but he's been a great help in just figuring out and getting accustomed to the way Alaska works, because being so far removed, the state itself, they do have to, they kind of have to fight for themselves and rely on themselves a little more, kind of like Hawaii. They're just so, it's a different way of life, and so they do things differently. And we've been figuring that out and loving it every step of the way. It's been just, we're in August now, so a year and a month, and I think we're doing pretty okay.
So yeah, we've been here 1 year, well now a year and a month, and this is home. This is home. We love it here. We love our neighbors. We love our friends that we made, and this is home. And honestly, I know it sounds weird, but this is kind of where I hope to die here. I want to live out the rest of my life here. It's a great place, and we do really love it.
Thank you for tuning into Alaska, Year 1. Next, we'll be covering Alaska, Year 2, where giant moose and bear unite to destroy the inhabitants. As darkness sets in and the snow beast unfurls his rage, citizens flee for their homes which have been trampled by giant moose and bear, leaving the poor souls with little to no hope for survival. As the chaos rages and all is about to be lost, two heroes show up to fight for the chilled inhabitants of the snow village. Godzilla, that unpredictable but wonderful part-time ally, joins the battle and sides with the Homo sapiens in their struggle against nature. And Bigfoot finally shows his face to ensure his vote for the Donald is counted. Join us next time on Alaska Year 2. Chaos Subdued.